Grab your drinks and have a seat. It's time for serial killers.
What's up?
And we back.
By we mean I'm T.
And I'm the OJ.
The original J.
Yep.
Who's back to talk about serial killers.
Hell yeah.
So that's what we talk about on this show. I continue to reiterate it because I just don't feel like some people, I'm afraid people are going to think it's something else.
And it is not.
It is not.
We talk about the bad stuff.
Also, please, if you think my voice sounds a little weird, it kind of does because I came off of a week-long vacation visiting family. And when I visit family, I talk a lot and I lose my voice. And it's a whole recovery process when I get back. So.
And the allergies and the dry weather.
Yeah. Well,
and
yeah.
all the fun stuff.
Well, it's not, yes, but mine is really because I talk. As a matter of fact, my aunt is who I was visiting, my aunt, my grandma, and my cousin, who's more like a nephew, apparently told his mom, you guys talk a lot. And so it's like, we do. We spent the whole entire time literally talking.
Yeah, it is literally nonstop.
Yeah, Jay sits there. He'll pipe in here and there, but pretty much when it's just the two of us, we're pretty much just hanging out. We did not want to leave. I was not ready to come home, but we had to.
It was a good trip.
Yeah, we definitely will be making more trips back. So, to my aunt, I won't say your name because I'm not putting anybody on blast. You know who you are, and I know you listen to this. We genuinely had an absolutely amazing time, and we will be coming back soon because that's just where it's at. It's like old times.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to get into all things true crime. No, we're not actually. I lied.
Nope. We're going to talk about what we're drinking first.
We are going to talk about what we're drinking.
Which is super sad because I'm sat down and comfortable.
And his
my
coffee is across the room. So he'll have to get up in just a second and go grab that. I am drinking a hot cup of coffee today. I use the sweet vanilla Nespresso pod, and it has some coconut creamer in it. That's what I'm drinking this morning. Because we are recording in the morning, which we don't do as often as we used to. So I'm drinking a hot cup of coffee because that's about the only time you'll find me drinking anything hot.
Yep. And I've got also a hot Nespresso drip coffee with some French vanilla creamer.
What blend did you use? I know because I could smell it.
The vanilla.
Nope. That's not what you had this morning.
It was the light colored one.
Nope. It was the strawberry white chocolate one. It was the last one of our strawberry white chocolate pods because I could smell it this morning.
It doesn't taste very good.
Yeah, I'm not as big of a fan of the strawberry white chocolate as I was, but I could smell it when you were...
I thought it'd just been a while since I've had the coffee, so that's why it's still almost all the way full. No,
I was literally smelling it going, oof, thank goodness somebody drank that last one. And for those of you who don't understand, when you get the Nespresso pods, it might say sweet vanilla. It doesn't actually taste like vanilla. It more smells like vanilla. Jay will not drink it without anything in it. I can actually drink them completely black, but I like a little creaminess, which is why I put the coconut creamer in it, and I can drink it with nothing else. So they don't actually taste like strawberries and white chocolate. It just has a little bit of a different flavor. It's more the smell. Now, I have to get into something real quick, and then we're going to get into what we're here for. We're talking about true crime. I will just say I was completely shocked and flabbergasted to see that Brian Kohberger in the Idaho 4 killings pled guilty. And I say if you've been listening to me for a while, you'll know that probably shocked me because I just last week talked about how they're going to live stream his trial. And I was curious, what they had up their sleeve because why would he be going to trial and all this stuff? And then all of a sudden now it's boom, he is pleading guilty to all 4 murders. I am very curious. Jay told me that he saw that they said that after his sentencing, they will release all the files and stuff. I am overly interested in what they had because what they had shared with the public was so circumstantial, if that. So clearly they had something more that they just were not sharing with the public that totally made him plead guilt, or that pointed him being guilty. So for those of you who don't know, as of last week, Bryan Kohberger agreed to plead guilty to all 4 murders in exchange for no death penalty. So he will get, most likely, my guess is 4 life sentences, and he'll never get out of jail. But I was genuinely shocked, because this whole time it's been, nope, I didn't. Nope, I didn't. Nope. And his defense was like, no, he didn't do it. We have we have a list of suspects that we think did it. Like all these things. And then all of a sudden, right before the trial starts, it's like, okay, fine. He's going to plead guilty to all 4.
Yeah. Hopefully it gives some of the families a little bit of closure.
I agree. I totally agree. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But now I'm going to say we're not going to do live update, or not live, but we're not going to do updates every week, because there's no trial to watch now. So now it's just Bryan Kohberger is guilty of killing all four kids, which again, I am very interested to find out the why, if I can. I don't know what connection he had with them, but obviously they were so tight-lipped on the case, and it worked out, I guess, in their favor, because people think he's guilty. People thought he wasn't guilty. There's all kinds of things. I didn't know one way or the other. I just knew that what they had said about like what kind of evidence they had about him. To me, I sat there and thought, if that's all they have as a juror, that'd be really hard to be like, yep, he's 100% guilty. So clearly they had something else. So I'm interested to find that out. However, we are not here to talk about Bryan Kohberger. We are actually here to talk about something else.
And who are we here to talk about?
We are here to talk about Pedro Rodrigues Filho. Now, his nickname is Killer Petey. He has 71 to 100 or more victims.
Jeez.
The dates of his murders are 1968 all the way to 2007. The location is Brazil. His method of murder was typically stabbing. And the characteristics of his murder is he's a vigilante killer, and he robbed people. If you don't know what a vigilante killer is, vigilante murders are when you kill somebody because you feel they deserve it. It's like it's like retaliation, right? So you basically take the law into your own hands. That's basically what this guy is about. So here's a little bit of background on Pedro. So he was born June 17th, 1954 on a farm in Santa Rita do Sapucaí. Now, he was born with a bruised skull due to his father kicking his mother in the stomach while she was pregnant, and the continued abuse his mother had while she was pregnant. So he was born with a kind of it's not a great start to the world.
Right.
Now, his claim is that at the age of 13, he was already wanting to kill people. So this was specifically due to an incident that he had when he was 13. He got into an argument with his older cousin. And he said that was the moment where he had the urge to push his cousin into the sugarcane press that they were like standing near. And he actually does do it. He pushes his cousin into the sugarcane press, and it almost kills his cousin. Now, he even thinks that in the moment, as his cousin is sitting in this sugarcane press, basically being smushed, he's like, I'm just going to leave him there to die. That's what he thought in his head. And then for some reason, he was like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. I guess I'll get him. So he ends up saving him, pulling him out of the sugarcane press, and his cousin lives. But he said that was kind of the moment when he was like, yeah, I definitely want to kill people for being assholes.
Damn.
Now, throughout his childhood, he was abused regularly by his father. And other than that, in his younger years, there is not really much information on his super young childhood, like anything else below the age of 14. The reason for this is because Pedro killed his first victim at the age of 14. So anything below the age of 14, I don't really have much, but from 14 on, I have quite a bit of information. Well, not quite a bit, but it starts right into the murders. So at the age of 14, Pedro's father had been working as a security guard at the high school in their town. Now, he got fired for allegedly stealing food from the kitchen at the school. Pedro was extremely angry about this because he felt that his father was unjustly fired. And because of the reason he was fired, it prevented his father from getting another job. Because obviously when you go to apply for another job, they're like, you steal. So no, you can't have a job here.
Yeah, stealing is not a good look on your record.
No. And so he ends up going and he shoots and kills the deputy mayor who was the person who fired his father. Like he literally walks up to walks down to the city town hall, takes his grandfather's shotgun with him, walks up to the deputy mayor and shoots and kills him.
That's pretty
Just shoots and kills him.
intense for 14.
Then he proceeds to go and shoot and kill a different security guard that he actually was very certain was the one stealing the food. Now it comes out later that he was wrong about that, and that guy did not actually steal the food. Yeah. But he was very certain at the time that this was the guy stealing the food, so he goes and kills that guy too. Now, after this, Pedro goes on the run because he obviously knows they're going to put him in jail for doing this. So he goes on the run. At the age of 14, he's like, peace out. Like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. A lot of kids run away around that age just
He runs-
because they're tired of their parents. He's running
Because the law's after him.
Yeah.
Now, he ends up staying in Mogi Cruces, which is in Greater Sao Paulo. And it is here that he starts to rob drug dens. And he also kills drug traffickers at this time. Now, he is actually deemed at this point Pedrijo Matador, which is Little Pedro the Killer or Little Petey Killer because of his crimes. So at this point, he has now created a reputation for himself as being somebody who is not afraid to go into a drug den and rob them, and also not afraid to go and kill people who are selling drugs, like drug traffickers.
At a very young age.
At a very young age, yeah. Now, not too long after this, after he's in this town and he's become little Petey Killer and all this stuff, not too long after that, he actually meets a woman named Maria Olympia, and they live together. They have a relationship. And he had sort of actually taken over the role of her deceased husband, who was also a drug lord. So obviously he was in like the drug crime, world. And so he meets her. Her husband had died and he kind of takes over. So because of this, he actually starts to engage in activities that you would expect of a drug lord. So he actually killed 3 ex-cronies. He killed multiple rival gang members. He also, so that's kind of what he does. I mean, he's running into that. He has no problem killing people, right? So he takes over the role of like, I'm going to protect this drug. It's not a gang, I guess, this gang of his group of people. And so to do that, he literally just starts going on and just
He becomes the enforcer.
Sure. Yeah. He's like making sure that everything's cush. Well, during that time, Maria also becomes pregnant with Pedro's child. However, Maria is murdered before giving birth, and she is actually murdered at the hands of a rival gang leader. So she's killed. Now, Pedro at this point decides, I'm going to get revenge, and I'm going to leave the drug trade. Like, I'm going to get my revenge, and then I'm gone. He actually goes on a fucking crazy killing spree. He tracks down several members of the rival gang and tortures and kills them. Now, he does this because he's actually looking for the man who specifically killed Maria. And so he would torture them to try to get information and then would kill him if he got info, if he didn't get info. It is actually said that he ended up killing every single one of the members of that gang.
Damn.
And I mean, it wasn't like this large gang, but there was like 11 members to the gang, and he would literally track them down, torture them, kill them. And my guess is because he killed all of them, he ends up killing the man who killed Maria.
Yeah, that's some gangster shit.
So he got his revenge. Now, the timeline on the rest of his murders is actually pretty unclear. Like, I personally had a hard time nailing down the exact time frames of when he killed these people. Because when I would read it, like, I had like 7 articles up, and one would be like, say one thing, the other would say, and they'd be the same murder of the same person.
But like different details.
Not different details, but like different time frames in his life. And so I'm not quite sure when he actually killed them. So what I'm just going to do is say that at some point he killed a man who had impregnated his cousin. He actually shot the guy to death. So he for some reason kills somebody who impregnates his cousin. And he also kills at least another 11 unnamed criminals at some point during his time. Then he also, while he's out doing all this stuff, his mother ends up being murdered as well. Now, his mother is actually murdered by his father. And his father kills his mother and dismembers her body. Pedro goes to her funeral and literally swears over her coffin that he will get revenge for his mother. So he tells his mother, I will avenge you, basically. Now, on May 24th of 1973, Pedro is 18 years old and he is arrested. Now, I'm not really sure what he's arrested for. This is what I'm talking about. Like, they say that he gets arrested and goes to jail, but they don't tell you what he got arrested for. My guess is he got arrested for killing somebody. Like that's my guess.
I mean, that's what he does.
Right. So my guess is that they caught him in some fashion killing somebody, and so they arrested him. Now, the police records actually show that he was transported. So he was being transported to the jail with another inmate at one point during his incarceration. Both of the inmates were handcuffed, and I'm assuming they were like in the back of like a paddy wagon van, like not in the back of like a cop car, but like in the back of a van. And here's why I think that. Because when the police arrive at the destination, the jail that they're bringing Pedro and this other inmate to, they actually open up the doors and find that Pedro had actually killed the other inmate while in transport. Both of them were handcuffed, but he somehow was able to kill the person he was riding with. And again, that's why I'm like, I don't think he was back in the back of a cop car, because the cops did not realize he had done this until they got to the location where they were supposed to be bringing.
Like, bro, he just stopped breathing. I don't know what happened.
Well, the inmate that he was being transferred with was a rapist. And Pedro tells the police when they open up the door and they're like, what the fuck happened? Pedro tells the police, well, I killed him because he was a rapist. He doesn't deserve to live. So he just blatantly tells them like, nope, he didn't deserve to live. So I killed him. Now, while Pedro is in custody or whatever, he actually gets sentenced to 128 years in prison, which is why I think that he was actually arrested for murder.
Yeah.
Because
and then
what
you
else
tack
would
that
you,
other murder on top of
right?
it.
So like, what else would you be doing? Now, like I said, I'm really not clear on the charges, but I can't think of any other crime that you could have committed that would warrant you to have 128 years in prison. And my guess is it's probably not one murder. It was multiple murders that they got him for. Now, while he's in prison, he continues to murder people. So he actually does get revenge for his mother while he's in prison. And this is what I'm talking about. So when I was reading the research, it was saying like, oh, he got revenge for his mother while he was in prison. He himself said he got revenge for his mother while he was in prison. But the time frame of like when he was in prison, I'm not 100% sure. So he does kill his father while they are both in prison. So both of them are in prison. His father was in prison for murdering his mother. And he happened
Makes you wonder if he got caught on purpose so he could go and kill his father because he swore revenge. And if his dad's in jail, he's probably going to be in jail for a long time. So
probably, maybe. So this is what he said. He said, I killed my father in prison. I was already in prison then. I've spent 42 years in prison. My father was in prison. I arranged a well thought out plan and I turned up in my father's cell. I had promised revenge on my mother's coffin. Pedro stabs his father 22 times. He rips out his heart, bites it, and he says, I just chewed it. I cut the tip of the heart off, chewed it, and then I threw it on top of his body.
That is some freaky shit. Just imagine if you worked in the prison and that's what you found.
What? And honestly, at this point, like, what do? This guy doesn't give two shits. He's killing everybody he possibly can. You can't stop him, clearly. Like, what the fuck? He does that. Also, while he's in prison, he also kills a man named Francisco de Assis Pereira, and he was actually a serial killer and a rapist. He kills Joao Acacio de Coste, who is a serial killer and a robber. He kills Josmeni Ramos, who is a murderer and a bank robber. He killed another unnamed inmate who was in prison for murder, and he killed at least another 43 unnamed inmates.
That's crazy.
Like, you think about that, just in prison, like, that's a lot of people he be killing in prison. He's just chilling, like, every day he kills one person. That's like a bad guy.
It's like an empty fucking prison except for him.
I know, that's weird. Now, while he's in prison, he was, again, sentenced to 128 years. During this time, his prison sentence goes from 128 years to 272 years and then 400 years. So he gets convicted and has 400 years in prison. However, in 2007, he is released from prison.
Good behavior?
No, this is due to Brazil at the time prevented anyone. They had a law that prevented anyone from spending more than 30 years in prison. So why the fuck sentence them then? I don't understand. Brazil has since revised this and they have made it to where you cannot spend more than 40 years in prison. So why the fuck you hand out anything over 40 years if you're not going to let them stay there? I don't know.
No shit.
But basically you could go and kill 855 million men and you'll spend 40 years in prison. Now, Pedro is released from prison in 2007 and he initially takes a job as a night watchman. And he also does a complete 180 with his life. He like literally enters into a part of his life where he becomes almost an anti-crime advocate. Now, he speaks a lot about his crimes. He urges people to not engage in criminal behavior. Like he literally like gets out of jail.
Turned over a new leaf.
Yeah, he was just kind of like, I'm done. Like, okay. Now,
I hit my quota. I'm good.
Now, Pedro is arrested in 2011, and he is charged with threatening others, illegal possession of weapons, and participating in illegal riots. Now, he stays in prison until 2018, so he spends 7 years in prison. But he doesn't kill anybody in prison. He just spends 7 years in prison. Now, upon his release in 2018, he actually decides to start up a YouTube channel. So for some of you listening, Pedro may be a familiar name to you because you might actually have seen his YouTube channel. Now, on his YouTube channel, what he would do is he talks about current crimes. My God. He uses his own life stories to tell people about like what he did, how he did it, all that stuff. Like he was an open book. Like he literally starts this YouTube channel and talks about the crimes that are going on and either how he feels about them or maybe he might even be like, well, I would have done this differently, whatever. He also uses his own personal stories. He talks about who he killed while he was in prison, while he was out, why he killed, where he killed, who he, like all those things. And he also spends this time on this YouTube channel warning people about what kind of a life you would have if you were a criminal. However, he does claim to people that he does not ever regret murdering anybody. Everybody he killed, he does not regret.
Because they were all bad people.
But he did regret falling into a life of crime. And it's funny to me that he's able to differentiate murdering people and crime. Like he regrets the crime part being like, I regret robbing drug dens. I regret the drug trafficking. I regret gangs. I regret that. But I don't regret murdering people because those people deserved it. Now, on March 5th of 2023, Pedro is actually killed outside of one of his family members' homes. A black car pulls up to the home, tells Pedro's family member who is sitting outside with Pedro on the front porch, tells the family member, it has nothing to do with you. Take your daughter and go inside. His throat is slashed and he is shot multiple times. The assailants fled the scene. Now the car is found not too far from the home and not too long after this happens. However, the killers were not there, obviously. And to this day, the killers have never been found. Now, my mind is that this murder of Pedro was a vigilante killing for someone he had killed in prison. So my thought is that somebody found out. Well, I mean, he had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, it was coming. Payback was coming.
Yeah, so he had a YouTube channel. So I am sure that he talked about stuff. And my guess would be that people found out where he was and were avenging somebody's death that he killed while in prison.
And in Brazil, the gangs are really prolific. So I'm sure one of the people he killed was a gang member. And 100%. So it's probably retaliation, and that's why they're like, look, this has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
It's him.
I mean, I'm going to say, it sounds so weird to say this, but I actually respect that. I know that sounds so
lit up
shitty.
The house and,
I know. And I'm sitting going, I actually respect that because they walked up, they had a job to do. Their job was to kill the man who obviously killed somebody they knew. And instead of taking out the whole house or drive-by shooting, they literally walk up and say, take your daughter, go inside. This is not for you. And they did. They took their daughter, went inside because they were the ones who called the cops.
Yeah. Car full of people pull up. I'd be like, all right, I'm out.
Right. Now, when Pedro died, he was 68 years old. I mean, he lived to be pretty old, though. I mean, 68 years old.
For what he was doing? Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So that is the story of Pedro Rodrigues. I can't even speak. Pedro Rodrigues Filho. Now, I do have some shots, clearly.
Let's hear the shots on old Pete.
Lil Petey. Killer Petey. Okay, so first of all, I just want to make it very clear. What have we said this whole time? Pedro is what? What kind of a killer?
A serial killer?
No, but what kind? What kind of a serial killer is he?
Vigilante.
So he's a vigilante killer because his claim is, I only kill people who are bad, right? So one of the problems is Pedro had a tattoo on his arm that read, I kill for pleasure. So if you're killing for pleasure, If that's what your claim is, that's not really vigilante.
But he's like, look, I like killing, but it's only going to be bad people.
To be honest with you, I do think that's what I do think that is kind of what it was. He didn't mind killing people, but he wanted to kill people that deserve to die in his mind. Now, he did have this tattoo covered up in 2018 after he was released from prison. Because like I said, he did a 180 after he was released in 2007. He had changed his life around. He went back to jail for something that had nothing to do with murder. And then he got out in 2018 and he like covered up his tattoo and all that kind of stuff. Now, and by the way, I want to very much so reiterate, it doesn't actually read "I kill for pleasure" because it was actually written in Portuguese. So we didn't know it. It just was translated into basically "I kill for pleasure." Another translation I saw was "I love to kill." It was one of those two things is what the translation would be on his arm. Regardless, to me, that's not necessarily a vigilante killer, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, by the time Pedro was 18 years old, he had already killed dozens of people. Most of them were drug dealers. So can you think about that? He literally started killing people at 14, and in a matter of 4 years, he just was like killing anybody and everybody.
That's what I said. Just as young as he was, like, you know, that's probably why he could walk into these drug dens and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes a little 16-year-old. Like,
to be honest, like, I'm not trying to give any kudos to him, but how fucking badass do you feel that you're able to just walk in and do that? I mean, I'm not going to go in and kill people, but in my mind, I'm like, how invincible do you feel at the age of fucking 14, 15, 16 when you're walking in and you're like, oh, I'm just going to kill you then. And like, you just do it. Like how
takes out a whole crew.
Yeah. How do you feel when you take out a whole entire gang and in revenge for killing your girlfriend and your unborn child? Like you've got to feel pretty like powerful, right? Now, Pedro had claimed again to be a vigilante killer. And his claim was that all of his victims deserved to die, or at least that is what he personally felt. Now, majority of his victims were in prison, and he actually ended up only serving an extra 4 years for all of those murders that he had committed in prison because of their stupid law that they have there. Now, it is also claimed that he killed at least 47 people while he was in prison. So when you listen to that, like,
how do you not get like put into like solitary confinement for your whole life?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't understand.
But the prison people are like,
I mean, or maybe they didn't know, or maybe they didn't know he was the one killing him. Like maybe he'd kill him like in their cells and they'd find him, you know, whatever. Now,
with their heart ripped out and a bite taken out.
No, that was just the dad.
No, I know.
The rest of them weren't killed like that. That was a personal vengeance because he loved his mother, and his mother and him had a fairly good relationship, and so that was it. It was his family. Now, it is said that Pedro was the inspiration for the TV series Dexter. Now, this is part of the reason why. So, yes, he's very Dexter-ish, right? But even more so, how about this? Pedro was said to have a code of ethics. So if any of you have ever seen Dexter, if you have not, I'll give you a quick rundown. Dexter is a blood analysis guy who works for the police department, and he is also a serial killer, but he only kills bad people. Because he works in the police department, he can figure out who the bad people are, and because he's a blood analyst in the forensics department, he knows how to kind of cover his tracks. But he was, as a child, had serial killer instincts, and his father was a police officer and knew he had serial killer instincts. So his father taught him a code of ethics, and the code of ethics was you only kill people who deserve to die. You only kill people who are bad.
And you have to be sure. At least the Dexter one.
You have to be sure that you have to kill him. So Pedro did also have apparently a code of ethics for himself, and that he would only kill people who broke the code. That's what he says. I had a code that I had, that I followed. I would never hurt somebody who didn't deserve to die. However, while he was in prison, he did kill someone for snoring too loudly. So unless that broke his code of ethics,
I was going to say it might be on the code.
Like, okay. And he also killed another person because he didn't like his face. That was his claim. I didn't like his face, so I killed him. So I don't think he followed the code of ethics as closely as he said.
Code.
But the idea behind Pedro, they do say the guy who created Dexter knew and heard of Pedro and created his Dexter series off of him, which, to be honest with you, I'm like, I could see it.
Yeah, as we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that's Dexter right there.
Jay and I have watched the whole all the seasons of Dexter. I know there's a new Dexter that is on Showtime, but it's like I think it's Dexter when he was younger, and we have not watched it yet because I'm kind of on the fence because I'm like, I really loved Dexter, like the TV show Dexter. I could watch it a million times. I loved it. I don't know if I could get on board with the early life of Dexter, but I want to try it one time. But basically, that's the point, is that he was an inspiration for the Dexter character. Now, as for Pedro, he said himself about killing people, and I quote, "It's as if I was unloading myself. I feel a relief. I have no emotion," which again is very Dexter-like. If you listen to or watch Dexter, he says like it's an urge that I have to fulfill, but I do it by only doing it to bad people. He also said, "These are crimes which outrage us, filled with lies, and put an end to the happiness of a person." He was asked, so he was saying that like these people, the people I killed, they had committed crimes that made us mad. They were full of lies, and this person took the happiness out of somebody else for no reason. Those are the people he went after.
It would have been cool to like be able to find out like what his code was.
I actually would bet money that if you were to look him up on YouTube, you'd probably find it, because he was very.
He had his YouTube channel.
Yes, and he was very open and honest on his YouTube channel apparently, which I did not watch any YouTubes yet, but I had thought about just out of curiosity, because one of my biggest things is I'd love to pick the brain of serial killers. He is a serial killer. He killed a lot of people, and so for me, I'm sitting here going, I think I might actually look him up and see if I can find some of his videos and just see what they're about.
Well, and I know there's. In prison, there are codes that people live by, and so it'd be curious to see where his was at, right?
Yeah.
Like
if he talks about it.
Like one of the codes is people don't like child molesters, right? Child predators. It's a thing. So was that part of his code, or was it like?
I mean, at least rapists were, because he killed a rapist for sure.
So it's like, was it just adults? Was it kids? Well, I'd be curious to know what his code was.
What was funny to me is the fact that he did kill multiple serial killers, and
he's got to be number one.
No, not because that. In his mind, they did not deserve to live because they killed people. But he was able to compartmentalize and disassociate the fact that he was killing people from that.
Yeah, he's like, look, I'm killing the bad people.
That's what it was.
Because it's saving the good people.
Exactly. And so he was able to justify his killings that way.
But it's like if somebody was a serial robber, right? Was that on his list?
Right. I don't know.
So I'd be curious.
Right. That would be very interesting.
I almost want to look up his YouTube and kind of watch
what
a
I'm
couple
saying.
And just see like.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
I mean, snoring and an ugly face. We know that was
right.
On the list.
That was on the list apparently. Now, he was asked if he would kill again on his YouTube channel by a friend. Like he was doing like a interview type thing with one of his friends, and his friend, one of the questions was, would you kill again? Now, remember, he got out in 2007 and did not kill anybody from 2007 until his death in 2023. So again, very different than your typical serial killer who has these urges and they can't control themselves. Like clearly he could control himself, but he had no reason to kill people that were bad because he wasn't in that lifestyle, right? His response was no. So that he was asked, would you kill again? And he said, no, I would only kill again if someone came to take my life or the lives of people I love who are my family. So a
typical normal human response.
I mean, I don't know if that's a normal. Maybe that's a normal response for us, but I don't know if that's a normal response for everybody else.
That seems more like I'm not going to kill, but I will protect.
Right. And that's basically what he was saying is, no, I have no desire to kill people. However, if they come after me or my family, I'll kill you on the spot. So it is very interesting. And again, like I said, he was killed when he was 68 years old. That's fairly old. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm assuming the people who came up to it, because I mean, in my brain, what I picture is that this black car pulls up. They said the black car pulled up, and I think it was 2 individuals got out that were covered, like they had masks on. So in my brain, I picture they're sitting on the front porch of this house. This black car pulls up. These 2 people walk out with masks on. I guarantee you, Pedro knew they were coming to kill him, right? And the fact that they had time to look at the person and say, go take your daughter inside, and he did not try to kill them right then and there.
Yeah, and Pedro was just like,
maybe he was just ready to go.
The time
right? Like
come.
he's sitting there going, I'm 68 years old. I've lived my life. Like, then fucking do it.
What if these two people were family members of the original security guard that he killed? Didn't do anything wrong.
That'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Well, and they again,
like a movie, right? You pull off the mask. My great grandfather, and he was just
said,
like,
"I'll see you in hell."
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know. And again, they've never found who killed him. So, and I honestly, if I'm being super honest, I'm pretty sure they didn't even look that hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Probably not.
Like in their brain, they were probably like, I don't really care who did this because this man killed a shit ton of people for the same reason that he most likely got killed, because he killed somebody and they got revenge, right?
Yep.
Just later on in life, revenge.
And he was like, look, this is what I'd been doing for years.
Yeah.
It's come full circle.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I sit there and go, I was kind of shocked to find out that it didn't sound like he fought back or even attempted to kill them. He just took it, like accepted his fate, I guess. I don't know. But overall, I will point out and say Pedro was a serial killer, a vigilante serial killer, but still a serial killer. And to compartmentalize and disconnect himself from the fact that he was killing people and not viewing that as bad tells you he was a serial killer.
Right.
He had that mentality of a serial killer.
But the interesting part is how he could go from being the serial killer he was
and just stop.
And the amount of people and the amount of time and then just stop.
Well, because think about it.
You figure if it was 30 years and he went to jail at 18, he got out at 48.
Right.
So he lived another 20 years without doing anything.
But also think about it. He also got out and was no longer in the crime.
Right.
Like, he didn't go back to a life of crime. So when you're in a life of crime,
bruh, I'm too old for this shit.
Right. No, really, that's kind of what it sounds like. And then he turns around and he's like, hey, let's not do these things. Don't be like me type thing. And so this is the story of Pedro Rodrigues.
Short but interesting.
It was really interesting. It's the first vigilante serial killer we've done. And I'm sure there's other vigilante serial killers out there. But I was genuinely interested in him because a lot of the people we do, they have really bad like mental health issues, or they're schizophrenic, or they, have really terrible childhoods. He did have a terrible childhood. However, he didn't turn into a killer who killed anybody. He's a vigilante serial killer. And I know that I talk about vigilante killings sometimes and I'm like, I'm not opposed really. However, in this capacity, I do struggle with vigilante serial killer because just because you think somebody did something wrong, you don't
know the whole situation. And just like
you don't get to
original security guard.
Right. Right. You made a mistake.
He assumed and he was wrong.
Yeah, you made a mistake. And to be honest with you, in the world that we live in, we are not, as people, we are not allowed to be the judge, jury, and executioner. So these people that were in prison that he killed, they were serving time for the crimes they committed. Yes, they probably were serving way less time than they deserved. So he took care of it so they could never go out and hurt people again. But if we all believed that that was the way that the world worked, if we all sat there and was like, yeah, it's okay to kill people that you think did something wrong, where do you draw that line? Where do you draw the line of saying, they did something wrong? As a matter of fact, Jay and I are listening to a book, and the book we're talking about literally is Vigilante Killings, which is hilarious that's the book we're listening to. And in it, it's a fake book, but in it, the main character, actually, she's a cop, and she actually says, so just because these people think these people did something bad, well, what happens if they start to think that people who, like the color yellow are bad? Or what happens if they start to think that somebody who, neglects their child is bad enough to kill them? Where do you draw the line between killing somebody because they deserve it or killing somebody because you think they deserve it? And for Pedro to be able to kill as many people as he did, have zero remorse, my guess is he's a sociopath because he has no emotion about it. He didn't care, which again, not every sociopath is a killer, but it is easier for sociopaths to be murderers because they don't feel any emotion about it. To me, where was that line? Like you had said, Jay, I'd love to know his code of ethics. And I'd really love to know, did he really follow that code of ethics to where he only killed people who deserved it in his mind based on these ethics? But where was that line drawn?
I mean, I think we would say, yes, he probably followed it, but not very tightly.
Well, not if he killed somebody for snoring.
Yeah.
And he admittedly killed somebody because he didn't like their face. Like, those are obviously not, and again, those might be his code of ethics, but that's not why you kill somebody. So I just wanted to make it clear that I do joke around about vigilante killings. And I always say, like, if you die in prison, oh well. But in this scenario, vigilante serial killers are a little bit of a different story to me, because I just have a hard time believing that every person he killed deserved to die. Because I don't think people who sell drugs to people deserve to die. They deserve to get in trouble, but they don't deserve to die. And he was killing people who were trafficking drugs, right? So they weren't doing things like murdering a bunch of people. They were selling drugs and he would kill them, right? He was doing stuff like that. So it's like, I don't necessarily believe that would not be my code of ethics if I was a serial killer or a vigilante killer.
Well, if I get a chance to watch some of the YouTubes and they say it on there, we'll circle back around on one of the future episodes.
Maybe we'll be able to either do a second, like 20-minute little zhizh on what we've kind of learned about him and his code of ethics. Maybe we'll just do like a little second part to this, or maybe we'll just be able to talk about it in one of our episodes in the beginning or something. Other than that,
so stay tuned. There might be more to come with this one.
Yes. So other than that, this was the story of Pedro Rodrigues Filho.
Oh, Petey.
Not Petey, Killer Petey.
Killer Petey.
Known as Killer Petey. So if you like the things you hear, and if you want to continue to listen to us, make sure you're following us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Follow us on our socials. You know the drill. We say this every single week. I don't know why I keep saying it. Probably because some of you are new, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And if you are trying to get us on YouTube, we have gotten some feedback that it's a little difficult.
It's not a little difficult.
It's a lot of
you
difficult.
Can't find us at all. You'd have to look up the actual episode. So if you are a YouTube listener, we do have YouTube listeners. If you're a YouTube listener, how the hell did you find us? Because we can't find us. You search Fatal Blend, you search JNT, none of it comes up. The only way I can find us on YouTube is if I actually know the name of like one of our episodes, and I'll type it in and it'll pop up, as you scroll through and look. So I'm going to look into that. But which is important, if you find us, if you're listening to us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because then it will pop up under your personal things and then you never have to search for us again. So other than that, this is the part where I say thank you so much for listening to us talk about Killer Petey and his vigilante killings. And until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to lock your doors and bar your windows. Until next time.